It was supposed to be another quiet Seattle morning. Inside a small cafe on a rain-slick street, jazz played softly while the smell of roasted beans wrapped around the air. People scrolled their phones, half awake, half bored, until the bell above the door rang. A man walked in. His coat was torn, his boots cracked, and in his trembling hand sat a wrinkled $5 bill. His eyes were tired but gentle. He stepped to the counter and said quietly, "Just 1 cup of coffee, please." Behind the counter, Ryan Mercer barely looked up. Crisp shirt, polished tone, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. "Sorry, sir," he said flatly. "We don't serve your kind here." The cafe froze. A barista wiped an already clean counter. A couple by the window looked away. The man didn't argue. He folded the bill, nodded once, and stepped back into the rain. No one knew they had just turned away Ethan Hale, the founder of Harbor Roast. He hadn't come for sympathy, only to see what his dream had become. Outside, Ethan stared through the glass. The cafe glowed warm, full of laughter and comfort. Yet to him, it looked hollow. Years ago, Harbor Roast had been a refuge. Bus drivers between shifts, single mothers with strollers, people who came not only for caffeine, but for belonging. He'd grown up knowing what it meant to feel invisible. His mother, exhausted from double shifts, would smooth his hair and say, "You don't need much to have worth. Just make others feel seen." Those words had shaped the wooden sign he once carved by hand. "Coffee is meant to be shared." Now the sign was gone, and so was the heart behind it. Snow started to fall. Ethan whispered to himself the vow he'd made as a boy. "If I ever own a place, no one will be turned away." Watching Ryan smile at a man in a designer coat while ignoring an old woman in a cardigan, he felt that vow breaking apart. This wasn't about coffee anymore. It was about the soul of the place he'd built. He turned away and walked into the wind. Tomorrow, he would return, not to drink, but to watch. At dawn, he came back, cup from a gas station in hand, and sat outside at a wobbly table. From there, he could see everything through the window. Ryan Mercer ruled the counter like a stage. His smile switched on for expensive coats and vanished for tired faces. An older man in a faded cap asked for black coffee. Ryan told him the filters were being changed. Moments later, a woman in cashmere got her latte in under 2 minutes. Ethan wrote one quiet line in a small notebook, not about who they serve, but how. Each morning he returned, sometimes inside, sometimes out, always invisible in his ragged coat. His silence made him part of the furniture. That's how he noticed Grace Porter, a barista barely in her 20s, with soft eyes and steady hands. When she thought no one watched, she slipped a paper bag to a homeless man. "Yesterday's muffin," she whispered, "still good." Ryan appeared behind her like thunder. "What did I say about freebies? It would have gone to waste. Doesn't matter. You want to give things away, use your paycheck." Grace's shoulders stiffened. She didn't answer. Ethan saw her hands shake as she reached for the next cup, and he wrote another note. "Grace still cares." Days passed. A pattern emerged. A couple in their 70s, once regulars, back when Harbor Roast was new, ordered 2 coffees and a scone. Ryan charged them $3 more than the board price, muttering about supplier increases. Minutes later, a young man in a tailored coat ordered the same items and paid less. Ethan's jaw tightened. It wasn't error, it was design. He wrote the time, the items, the difference, the look on the couple's faces as they left. By week's end, his notebook bulged with notes and photos of receipts. At night, he opened his old laptop, using a forgotten admin login. The spreadsheets told the same story. Missing discounts, trimmed hours, inflated profits. A second hidden file, password protected, showed perfect fake numbers for investors. It wasn't carelessness. It was theft dressed as success. Harbor Roast hadn't drifted off course. It had been hijacked. The next morning, Ethan watched Ryan train a new barista. "Premium clientele only," Ryan said. "People who spend. Cheap crowds bring cheap problems." Grace's jaw tightened, her eyes on the milk wand. Ethan realized she might be the last thread holding the cafe's old heart. But kindness in a place like this was dangerous. If no one stepped in soon, she'd either harden or leave. That afternoon, Ryan's voice carried across the room as he talked on the phone. The investors love the numbers, he said. Once we roll out the rebrand, no discounts, no low-budget crowd, we can franchise this thing. Time to build for people who matter. The phrase landed like a slap. People who matter. Ethan exhaled slowly. He had enough. Proof alone wasn't victory. Proof had to change something. The cafe needed to remember itself, and Grace needed to survive it. Thursday morning came silver and cold. Frost etched the windows. 2 older women ordered 2 coffees and a cinnamon roll. Ryan smiled, tapped keys, and quoted a price, $3 too high. They paid, murmuring thanks. Before the next customer could move, Ethan stepped forward. Mind printing that last receipt? Ryan hesitated. Then Ethan took the slip and turned to Grace. Would you check this for me? She studied it, brow furrowed. This isn't the posted price. Her voice wasn't loud, but in the hush of the morning, it carried. The women looked up. A couple near the window paused. Ryan's tone cooled. Seasonal adjustment. Interesting, Ethan said evenly. Because the young man who ordered the same thing yesterday paid less. Murmurs rippled. Ryan's smile thinned. Sir, you need to leave. I will, Ethan said, sliding the receipt toward Grace. Hang on to that. You might need it. He walked out, leaving the cafe humming with unease. That night, his kitchen table became a map of justice receipts, screenshots, payroll proofs, a recording labeled Ryan Mercer Call, MP3, enough evidence to burn the lie down to ash. But Ethan didn't want ashes. He wanted restoration. The next step had to be public, undeniable, and fair. The next morning, Harbor Roast opened like any other. The smell of espresso, the low jazz, the chatter. Ryan stood behind the counter in a new tie, confidence rehearsed, but cracking at the edges. Ethan walked in, not to hide this time, to be seen. He stopped between the counter and the tables. Good morning, he said evenly. No scene, just the truth. He laid a neat stack of papers on the counter. Proof, selective overcharges, altered payroll, hidden reports. Then he pressed play on his recorder. Ryan's own voice filled the room. They won't notice, and if they do, they won't make a scene. Time to reposition Harbor Roast for people who matter. Silence fell, heavy and electric. Grace froze mid-pour, her eyes wide. Ryan forced a laugh. You have no authority here. I'm Ethan Hale, he said quietly. I built Harbor Roast. The cafe gasped, a small chorus of realization. 2 officers stepped through the door. Ryan Mercer. One asked. Ethan handed them a folder. Financial fraud, wage theft, deceptive pricing. Ryan's denial drowned beneath the crisp click of handcuffs. As he was let out, no one met his eyes. Every gaze turned toward Grace. Ethan stepped back. The fight was over. The healing had to begin. In the days that followed, the cafe felt like a house after a storm. Quiet, cautious, waiting to see what would remain. Grace stood behind the counter, hands resting on the wood, the heartbeat of Harbor Roast returning beneath her palms. She removed the premium-only signs. In their place, she taped a clean promise, price integrity, no hidden fees, no selective pricing. She added a stool near the register labeled receipt check station. Seniors could sit, review their slips, and take their time. 2 mornings later, she set a tin box by the door with a handwritten note. If you were overcharged, we owe you. People came quietly, old customers clutching faded receipts. Grace checked each one, counted out the difference, and slipped a small note inside the envelope. Thank you for giving us another chance. An elderly woman whispered. No one does this anymore. Grace smiled. We do now. Soon, Harbor Roast introduced Silver Hour, the first 2 hours of the morning dedicated to seniors. Softer music, slower pace, cheaper prices. A retired teacher volunteered as a guest companion, bringing refills and conversation. Above the counter, a new board listed prices and, beneath each change, a short reason. Bean costs up 15 cents, adjusted accordingly. Transparency became the house blend. A small jar appeared by the register. A cup from a neighbor. Pay it forward for veterans and seniors. Within a week, it overflowed. A delivery driver on break dropped in $1. Later, a man in a frayed jacket received a free coffee and a smile. No charity, no pity, just kindness repaid in kind. Ethan sat at his usual back table, watching it all unfold. Grace didn't seek attention. She simply practiced decency until it filled the room again. Harbor Roast was breathing. On a crisp Friday, Ethan arrived early. Sunlight hit the back wall, and there it was again, the wooden sign, cleaned and rehung, the carving he'd made with blistered hands so many years ago. Coffee is meant to be shared. He ran a thumb over the scratches and smiled. The cafe buzzed softly. People of all kinds sharing space, laughter, and warmth. Grace looked up from the counter and met his eyes. No words, just gratitude and trust. He bought a small black coffee. Finally, the cup he'd been denied, and took a sip. It tasted like home. Justice, he thought, wasn't the handcuffs. It was the envelopes with refunds, the honesty board, the jar by the register. Justice was belonging returned to the people who'd lost it. He stood to leave, pulling on his coat. Through the window, he saw a young man hesitate outside, clothes damp from the rain, clutching a few dollars the way Ethan once had. Grace opened the door and smiled. "Come on in," she said. "You look like you could use something warm." Ethan stepped into the street, heart light. Behind him, the cafe glowed again, not staged, not hollow, alive. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who still believes kindness can change the world. Tell us in the comments where you're rewatching from. We'd love to hear your own story. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because tomorrow, we'll bring you another story to remind you that hope still lives, sometimes in nothing more than a single cup of coffee.